Hi everyone, this is Heather. Thanks so much for joining me. Today we're going to be making this fun unicorn card and I'm going to show you how to ink blend on an embossing folder. Hopefully you can see on camera how the little white stars are raised up, but there's still a blue sky background behind them. Recently, Joann fabric stores have started carrying hero arts. You can pick them up in store and online. So I went over to my local store. They did not have as big of a selection in store as they do online, but they did have a nice selection of wood and clear stamps. And I saw this dragon and unicorn set and just absolutely fell in love with it. It is so cute. So we're going to be using the unicorns, the shooting star, and one of the sentiments from this stamp set today. Also at Joann's, I picked up this really cute star embossing folder. This is from Park Lane and it is one of Joann's in-house brands. And I really love the all-over pattern. There's some open and solid stars and thought it would just be perfect for the background for some unicorns. For my card, I have a hot pink cardstock base, just an 8.5 by 11 sheet cut scored folded in half. And then I've got 3 pieces of white cardstock. This is actually the premium marker pad paper from Spectrum Noir because I'm going to be using Spectrum Noir inks and markers today. And each sheet is cut to 5 1/4 by 4. For my ink blending, I'm going to be using the Harmony Water Reactive Dye inks from Spectrum Noir. These inks come in sets of 3, so there's a light, medium, and a dark color. I'm going to be using the medium and the dark blues. I've got ocean blue and midnight blue, and I also have a large blender brush. I've opened up my embossing folder, and you want to ink on the side that is recessed so that design is pushed into the plastic. This is a side that you want to ink on. The opposite side, the design will be raised. And just to keep it from getting too messy, I'm going to take a couple of Post-it notes and I'm going to lay them along the edge. I've also got a scrap piece of paper under my embossing folder. I found that I have better results when I start with the lightest color and work into the darkest. So I've got the ocean blue ink pad and I'm going to tap my pad directly onto the plastic of the embossing folder about the bottom half. Now I'm going to take my ink blending brush and I'm going to smooth that ink out. That takes care of all those harsh lines. And moving on to the midnight blue, which is the darker, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to tap that on. To take my blender brush and I want to start at the top and again smooth that ink out, and then I want to pull it down into that lighter ink and kind of blend those in together. When you feel like your ink is smooth, you can go ahead and emboss. I know it doesn't look like there's a lot of ink on here now, but when you put the paper in, it will definitely show. Don't forget to remove your Post-it notes. And I'm going to take one of my pieces of cardstock and place that over top. Try not to shift it. I'm going to close the lid and I'm going to run this through my Big Shot. And after I've run that through, I'm going to carefully lift that up. And here is my ink blended background. I really love that you get kind of a marbled effect. It's perfect for sky or water. And I have it going from light to dark. It just gives a lot of nice dimension. Since these are water-based inks, they come clean really well. Just take a damp paper towel and just wipe down your embossing folder. Using black memento ink, I've gone ahead and stamped out my images on one of my pieces of cardstock. I've stamped this unicorn twice, this one once, and also the shooting star. Moving on to my third piece of white cardstock, I've gone back to that midnight blue ink, and in the upper left-hand corner, I'm going to stamp out my sentiment. And I've got a stitched cloud die from Amuse Studio, and I'm going to place that close to the edge where the words are, tape it in place, and run that through my die cutting machine. Then I'm going to flip it and do the same on the other edge, so I've got 2 cloud borders, one with words, one without. So here are my 2 cloud pieces die cut out. I'm going to set those aside for a minute. And I'm going to move on to my coloring. I'm using Spectrum Noir tri-bled markers, and these markers have 3 different colors of the same shade in one marker, so they're really easy for blending and shading and shadowing. I'm taking the lightest shade of the brown gray blend, and I'm just gonna go over the edges of the stamped unicorns just so that they're not bright stark white. It adds just a little bit of definition to them. So I hope you can see on camera that that adds just a little bit of definition to them, and I also did the same on the inside of the star. I wanted each unicorn to have a little bit of an ombre on their mane and their tail. So with the lavender blend on the first unicorn, I'm going in with the lightest shade closest to the unicorn's body. And I'm going to do about 1/3. Then I'm going to move on to the mid-tone and kind of blend those two together just a little bit. Then again, do about the center third. Also, while I have this medium shade, I'm going to color in the horn and the hooves as well. And then I'm going to move on to the darkest of the lavender blend and just finish filling that in. And that just gives a really pretty ombre effect. For the other unicorn, I'm moving on to the blue turquoise. Same thing, lightest shade closest to the body, mid-tone in the center. Also going to do the horn and the hooves. And I'm going to finish off with the darkest shade. And for this last unicorn, I'm going to do the exact same thing, but I'm just using the bright pink blend. So I finished coloring in my unicorns, and using the same mid-tone on each of these colors, I also did the lines behind the shooting star. This stamp set does have a die set, but my local Joann store didn't have it. So I'm just going to take my scissors and carefully cut around all the images, leaving a little bit of a white border. So I've cut out all my images and I'm ready to put my card together. So I've applied tape runner to the back of the star panel. I'm going to place this on my card base with the lightest shade of blue towards the bottom. I've also placed tape runner on the back of my clouds. I'm going to put those on the card with the words on the top and line up the other one along the bottom. I've placed foam tape on the back of all of my images. I'm going to put my little purple unicorn down here. And this other unicorn is the same as the purple, but I'm going to have him standing up. So that makes it look like a totally different image, even though it's the same. I'm going to place the pink unicorn up here and the shooting star up in the clouds. And here's our finished card. I really like this ink blending on the embossing folder. It gives a nice contrast between the white cardstock and the blue in the background, which makes a perfect sky for these really sweet little unicorns. I hope you enjoyed this card tutorial. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to check out my channel and subscribe, and I hope you have a fantastical day. This is Heather. Bye.